Slice of life, though. I'm going to stop now. This guy's the star of the show. Very loud ball, eh?
Here at Crow Hill, we're drawn to music that is shaped by place. We believe sound is formed as much by setting as by composition, molded by cultural context, what surrounds you, and where you're placed in time. I'm Theo, a composer and songwriter, and with Crow Hill, I visited a near and dear place, Paris. Paris's musical heritage is always a source of inspiration for me. Shaped by rebellion as much as refinement, it has long been a city of sonic and artistic contrasts. While a budding composer in my teens, I was introduced to romanticists such as Chopin, impressionists like Ravel and Debussy, and modernists such as Boulez. Each of these figures left an indelible mark on me, but what also struck me was their deep connection to Paris itself. It was a living, breathing influence on their creative lives. As with every episode of this series, my primary wish is to delve deeper. By exploring the composers themselves, I aim to understand why Paris held such a powerful appeal for artists whose styles and temperaments were so different and whose work stretched across generations. Welcome to Adventures in Sound. We began our journey on the hilltop neighbourhood of Montmartre to explore one of Paris's most whimsical yet broadly influential figures.
Here I am just off 6 Rue Corte, right in the heart of Montmartre. Over a century ago, this was home to one of music's most eccentric and quietly revolutionary figures, Erik Satie. Satie lived here from 1890 to 1898 during a period which many call his Bohemian Montmartre years. At this time, the neighborhood was a hub of creativity. Loads of artists, poets, and cabaret performers flocked here for the cheap rent and to immerse themselves in the cultural scene. Satie fit right in. In fact, he worked just up the hill at the Chat Noir Cabaret, where he played piano and mingled with symbolist poets. But Satie was never quite like anyone else. He walked around in identical grey velvet suits, 7 of them, and carried a hammer in case he needed self-defense. He referred to himself as a gymnopédiste, which is a term he essentially invented. This period at Rue Corte is where Satie wrote some of his most famous pieces, including the Nocienne, and the Gymnopédie. These works were radically simple in a time where classical music was drowning in heavy ornamentation. Satie stripped everything down to its essence, slow, spacious melodies suspended over simple harmonies. It's this quality, music that creates an atmosphere rather than demanding attention, that makes Satie one of the earliest pioneers of what we now call ambient music. Long before Brian Eno coined the term, Satie was imagining music that was more part of an environment than a spectacle. He coined a concept called furniture music, which is music that's meant to blend into the background and be a part of life rather than a performance. Brian Eno, credited with defining the modern ambient genre, explicitly cited Satie as a precursor. You can hear Satie's influence in the slow tempos, repeating patterns and structures of minimalist composers like Steve Reich and Philip Glass, as well as modern ambient composers like Aphex Twin and neoclassical composers such as Olafur Arnalds and Nils Frahm.
With Satie being the forefather of ambient music, it's only fitting that we explore the contemporary influence he had.
asking, Popeyes.
In Paris. All the pastry shops in the world. He's in a fucking...
We're heading to Motto Books for a Patch Point pop-up. Patch Point is a part synth retailer, part hands-on playground, and part learning hub for electronic musicians. It is deeply rooted in experimentation and education, inviting visitors to actively engage with the gear they showcase. I can't help but notice the striking and unique instruments on Darren's table. A few of them being Siet Lombards, which are a family of wooden encased, experimental electronic instruments created by instrument designer Peter Blasser. Rather than following traditional keyboard layouts, they invite intuitive, tactile interaction. I asked Darren if he could walk us through what they are capable of.
All the knobs. So now I have you can hear it's much quicker, so it's a multi-tap delay. That's kind of the way that you can. This one is going through a filter. Which you can modulate, and you can do a lot of things. So I think the most interesting new development in the world of Siet Lombard is he started gold leafing the wood, and what that does is that acts as like an antenna. You can see when I...
Oh yeah.
You have this, he added these basically added these gestural controllers to the instrument, wow, which is super nice. And you can do those, like a very simple thing I really like to do is just put it into the reverse. So that way you play, let's do it faster so we're on multi-tap. So we're on delay.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? You hear it going backwards?
Wow.
So it's like a fun way to control the parameters. It's also very smooth. Funny thing I didn't like about it right away was I didn't not like it, but it's funny, like when you push the button, you're always infecting the controllers, so you kind of got to work those into your
So it loops when you press the button?
Yeah, so when these orange lights are on, that means that it's saving it, freezing it forever.
Right.
And then you can crank the volume or lower the volume like a mixer. And then that's a good point to go through and show. So basically you have like VCAs on the effects and you have VCAs on the input. So if I grabbed a cable, I could take a VCA. The center section is kind of it's 5 oscillators and they can be linked together. So here, I'll just use it as a basic kind of tremolo effect.
Yeah.
And they're inverted, and it's hard to hear when you're just changing between each other. But if you took, for example, like sound on the other side, or let's freeze anything. And well, it's probably better with it doesn't really matter. And you put it here, then you have like, it's doing like a rotary effect. So that's so cool, because all the instruments are stereo. So that's like kind of a nice, and then they're like, depending on where you have the feedback set, they'll...
So if someone had this instrument, how would one like get used to these parameters? Because I've noticed there's no like labeling at all. Is it just a kind of trial and error thing, and you find stuff that's cool?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the concept. I mean, there's a lot of community where they're defining the instruments, and he literally tries to explain them the best he can. It's not like an esoteric thing. He's just really trying to explain the instruments the best he can.
Yeah.
And it's really just outside of the box of normal instruments, and so there are manuals, and he tells you like what each thing does. So It's, but there's no labeling on the instrument.
I think I appreciate that, because then you find stuff that you never would otherwise had it been labeled, Because if you're looking for a particular thing, it's like the labeling helps a lot, but then you'll find stuff that you never would have, usually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's about discovery, I guess, these instruments.
Absolutely, and the fun thing with bananas is if you, for example, if you're not thinking about it and you're like, oh, I want to send this also to here, but this is connected to here, then you're also like...
Yeah, manipulate, yeah.
So sometimes you accidentally do stuff even if you're trying to do stuff. And, it can become really nice because when the things are interacting with each other, they kind of make music with each other, like if some envelope from some sound is affecting another sound, it just kind of gives it a nice thing.
Keen to find out more, I want to sit down with Darren to understand Patch Point as an entity and his connection to Paris itself.
Why Paris is my question, I guess. Why would you pick
here? I fly over a lot, and I always see it from the airplane. I've never been here, and I was here for that show in June. I'd never been here before, and it just seems... They have a particular way of looking at and finishing things. I never thought it was a city for architecture or buildings, but the buildings are built really well here. Yeah, people have taste in a way, I think. So it seems, and the bookstore, it seemed like something I wanted, someplace I wanted to experience for a bit.
So you're getting quite a lot of footfall in here, and people are interested in...
Yeah, I would say not tons, but the people who come are super excited to finally be able to, try the instruments. And the funny thing about Paris is a lot of people contacted us and they work. In Berlin, it's in Berlin people are coming at whatever hour, Lisbon too, because there's a lot of tourists. But here, people are oh yeah, can I come in my lunch break?
Right.
Or I'm coming after work. So only people that have passed through during the day or not on the weekend are people that were passing through.
Right.
So
like us.
Yeah.
What struck me was how intentionally open Darren seemed to keep the space. Rather than presenting the instruments as precious objects, Patchpoint encouraged me and attendees to touch, test, and play with these remarkable instruments.
I was going to ask about this thing.
So it's,
very cute.
I love the bend.
Yeah, that boring.
Yeah.
Thanks to Patchpoint and Motto Books for their hospitality. Now we're headed to the first arrondissement to unravel a pretty elusive and introspective character, Claude Debussy. Taking route by the Musée de l'Orangerie.
Chocolate Eiffel Tower, chai tea coffee. Never chai tea coffee.
Nice chai tea coffee. And a crepe.
How do you say it?
Well, the pronunciation is crepe, but Emily in Paris says crepe, so...
And as a Frenchman, how would you say it?
Crepe. I follow Emily's...
Crepe.
It was a fitting setting to explore parallels between Debussy and Monet, who shared an artistic approach that leans on atmosphere, pacing, and gradual shifts in tone.
We're outside the Musée de l'Orangerie, which is home to Monet's vast, immersive water lilies. This is a fitting backdrop to talk about how Impressionism didn't just change visual art, but also changed the possibilities of music as well. Claude Debussy became a cornerstone of the Impressionist movement, although he famously shunned the term. While Impressionist painters like Monet and Renoir were dissolving forms into a shimmering light, Debussy was doing the same with his music. Much like these paintings, Debussy's compositions are undeniably ethereal, and he incorporates a lot of close voicings into his compositions, with the melody becoming quite blurred with the harmony. Instead of following the stricter forms and harmonic rules of the Romantic era, Debussy favored more fluid structures, subtle colors and moods, and harmonies that seemed to float and not resolve in a conventional way. He disliked the dominance at the time of Germanic musical forms and once quipped that Beethoven's symphonies were too heavy to float. He often incorporated whole tone and pentatonic scales with ambiguous tonal centers, which potentially originated from his visit to the 1889 Exposition Universelle, where he first heard Javanese gamelan music. He later said Western harmony suddenly felt too engineered compared to the circular, shimmering sound of the gongs.
Leaving Debussy behind, the next stop is a Chopin recital at a stunning Art Deco venue. Renowned for its exceptional acoustics, the space is crafted like a violin's resonant body, providing an ideal setting for his music. Grounded in Romanticist ideals, Chopin symbolizes a return to the piano as a direct, expressive instrument. Leaving behind the intimacy of the Chopin recital, we're setting off to the Philharmonie de Paris, a space where modern design meets acoustic perfection. Guided by the pioneering vision of Pierre Boulez, the hall reflects his meticulous nature, conceived to capture every nuance of sound, allowing music to unfold with a remarkable clarity and depth.
We're here at the Philharmonie de Paris, built in 2015 in the Parc de la Villette. It was conceived as a major cultural project to expand the Cité de la Musique and provide Paris with a world-class symphonic venue. Its largest hall, designed by architect Jean Nouvel, is named the Grande Salle Pierre Boulez, which reflects the association's deep connection with this composer and conductor. Boulez's musical language is defined by structural rigor, sonic innovation, and the rejection of traditional music conventions. He reacted strongly against musical traditions he deemed arbitrary, stylistically stagnant, and overly sentimental. He famously dismissed many 19th century romanticists and even some early modernists as insufficiently radical. This is in stark contrast to Paris romanticists such as Chopin, who valued elegance, emotional nuance, and the ideal of personal expression. Boulez sought to dismantle this through structure, serialism, and abstraction, and a detachment from popular taste.
From Satie's quietude to Debussy's ethereal forms, Chopin's intimate romanticism to Boulez's architectural precision, Paris reveals itself as a city that thrives on contrast. It has shown me that a city and a creative life is richest when it embraces these polarities.
It's got a flashbang next to it.
And that music does not thrive in perfect isolation, but through the embracing or subverting of attitudes that came before you. I've been to Paris many times, but never with this kind of focus. Experiencing the city through its eclectic musical figures and musical spaces gave familiar places a new depth, and it ended up meaning more to me than I expected.